Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So today let's talk about co-parenting. Divorce and separation comes with its own very unique challenges, all right? And one of those challenges, if there were babies involved, is co-parenting. So stick around with me so that you can learn ways in which you can be able to handle co-parenting in the best way possible for the better of yourself, your other parent, and the babies involved. So have you subscribed to my channel? If not, I politely request you to do so. Kindly hit the subscribe button. It is going to go a long way in ensuring that our content is reaching the right persons and also empowering and impacting lives out there. All right, my name is Elizabeth Ndanomulwa, and I am going to be here talking about co-parenting with Theo. Oh, guys, so you guys, a disclaimer is that I am not a therapist, I am not a life coach. I am talking out of experience. I'm giving you my tips out of an experience, out of my friend's experience, and out of what I've been able to see. All right, and so if you have any comments that you feel could be or should be included in this video, I would be glad if you could drop a comment, and I am going to be sure to read them through all right, so let's go right into it. So as we mentioned, separation and divorce is one of the things and one of the challenges that most parents face at the point whereby they have been able to separate. But let's look at ways in which you can be able to make it better. Now, one thing that you should all notice is that a separation or divorce should not change you from being a good parent that you were before to being a bad or an absent person. All right, so ensure that despite the fact that you have separated, just for the good and for the better of the kids and of the babies that are involved in that relationship, they are safe and they are not feeling neglected or abandoned or any sorts of things. All right, so ensure that despite the fact that you've separated, you're present and you're pushing on and ensuring that you're putting your lives together. Now, one of the most important things that you'd want to do is ensure that you are, because you see, when you're separating, there's a lot of emotions that have been involved. All right, so find very effective ways to cope through that particular season of your life. All right, and the fact that it is not just you who is involved in this, because there's you, the other person, and the kids. Monitor and be very keen to notice if there is any change with your kids. Like you'd find that there's an underperformance in school. All right, some kids just withdraw, they become very aggressive, and you're able to spot some of those behaviors. Find ways and ensure that you're noticing them in a timely manner so that you don't wait until it's too late, and then that's when you're noticing that there is a need for you to seek, or like for you to seek assistance for your kids. All right, so ensure that you're seeking very effective ways in which you can be able to cope through that particular seasons of your life. Right now, this includes you sitting down with your kids, being very empathetic, all right, because their feelings, they are also hurting. They wished that you guys were still together, all right, and so because the kids are hurting, you ought to sit down with them and listen to them and understand their point of view with a lot of wisdom, be able to communicate to them and explain to the kids the reasons as to why you were not able to continue with the relationship with their father or with your mother. All right, now it's as I mentioned, be very wise. Find a very wise way of doing this so that you do not end up bad mouthing the other parent, because at the end of the day, that is going to conflict. And there are childhood traumas, and we're going to be doing an episode on traumas pretty soon, perhaps after this episode. Let's explore traumas because they start from that particular point, what the kids are seeing. And remember, the kids are actually very wise. They can notice things and they can understand what is happening. And even if they do not understand at that particular point in time, in the future, they will understand. So it's important for us to ensure that despite the fact that we've separated, as your coping mechanism, do not badmouth the other parent. Do not talk bad. Do not turn your kids against the other parent. All right, it is just going to mess the experience for the both of you. So what you ought to do is to find other ways in which that you can cope through that particular season of your life. You can even seek assistance. You can talk to a therapist. You can talk to, just find ways in which your kids and yourself are going to be safe. All right, so that all all the parties involved can cope well and can be able to accept what has happened and be hopeful for the future. All right. Now, as I mentioned, one of the things is to ensure that you're listening to your kids very keenly, understand them, and be very keen also to monitor things and some of the behaviors that they may be undergoing through. Be very present and be very intentional about being present on their kids on during that season that they are hurting. All right, so that they do not end up having any sort of like a long time traumas, because as much as we seem to not accept the fact that traumas are real, they are indeed real. All right, so traumas are very and they quite unfortunate that they're still affecting our lives. They would still, even in 50 years, an experience that you had when you're very young could still be haunting to the person that you become, your personality, your decision making, how you are relating with other people. So those small traumas that you underwent when you're a kid could also affect you in your adulthood. Now, you do not want that to happen to your kids. You'd want to ensure that as much as you're separated, this is a very traumatic experience because they have lost people that they had hoped they loved. All right, so because they're not going to be seeing the other parent quite often. All right, not as it used before, because at the end of the day, you need to come up with a plan in which you intend to visit them. But it is a traumatic season because they hoped and wished that the two of you could stick together. There are things that you do together that you're not going to be doing anymore, right? So yeah, that is what I mean by telling you that you need to find a better way of coping through that particular period and time. Now, the second point is that you ought to create a very good parenting plan that would work for the both of you. Now, sit down, understand each other, understand your schedules, and come up with a plan that is aimed at making your kids comfortable and happy. And for continuity purposes, let me say, most importantly, it's continuity, and it ought to start immediately. Like continuity purposes and ensuring that kids are happy and there's no any sort of like instability. The kids ought to be very stable. So when you are separated, that should not like inconvenience how the kids' life were. It's important for you to come up with a parenting plan and how you intend to maintain stability in the kids and how you intend to ensure that the kids are okay and safe. Now, this comes with flexibility. When you're coming up with a parenting plan, it's important for the two of you to agree that we are not going to be rigid with this particular plan, all right? Because things happen. I mean, I could be late at work and today was supposed to be the day that I'm picking the kids and blah, 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 and all that. So ensure that you are very flexible. Now, but also with flexibility, let it not be a habit of inconveniences here and there. I mean, if you have come up with a plan with your other parent, with your other partner, ensure that at least you're trying and you're very intentional about ensuring that you're following it. Unless there is unavoidable circumstances that you ought to communicate to the other parent quite in advance, so that they are also because everyone has their own plans, all right? So but let's ensure that we are very flexible and patient and understanding to the other parent, so that we have that there is not any sort of like conflict. And it's important, the third point, it's very important to ensure that we are mindful of the things that we are doing in front of the kids, all right? So because there could be still some resentment and hurt and feelings of betrayal because you guys are still hurting during that particular period. But it's important to understand that at this particular point, it is not about me or about that other person, but it is about the kid. You understand? So despite the fact that you have separated and the fact that this other person or whoever it is that did the other person wrong, you put those feelings aside. Find a way. If at all you are struggling to put your feelings aside, it is okay. You could seek assistance. You can talk to someone, seek some counseling. Someone is going to take you through how you can cope and get over that particular period. But that should not stop you from ensuring that the other kids or the kids are interacting with the other parent. All right. Be very open. Have a very good relationship with the parent, with the other parent. Forgiveness. I think the most important thing is forgiveness. If you forgive from your heart and forget, Sometimes it could take some time, but if you are able to forgive and move forward, then it works magic into now putting the family together. And because as much as you have separated, you ought to also ensure that you are instilling that family spirit within you and your kids. And there is that feeling that kids feel when they see that my mom and my dad are loving me at the same time. Not because when you are separate ways, when you're at home, you're loving them. When you guys have the other parent is on the other side, they're loving them, like they're communicating on phone and they're telling them how they're loving them. But it's just a different feeling when the kids are seeing the two of you together and acting that everything is okay and normal, and that you are doing that just for the sake of the kids. You understand? Because as you've mentioned, they are very keen and they can understand, they can see what is happening, and it is important to ensure that we are showing them what is best and what we want them to understand. So let's not give our kids any culture shocks because of the fact that we have separated. Let's create a very good plan, and all that is going to be well sorted. Now, the other thing is that when you are doing co-parenting, we ought to promote family relationships that are very healthy. All right, let's promote family. Family, you guys, let's promote family relationships that are very healthy. Now, I am doing this as a continuation of the previous point, that let's have a way in which we are showing the kids that families work, or like families can be happy despite the fact that they have separated. We are family. I mean, if you have given birth with someone, they are a part of your life forever, literally forever. So there is no way that you're going to cut ties with them. Kila wakati move this side, you see the baby is there and you're thinking of the dad, and the kids are going to be asking for their dads. All right, so it's just that the fact that you already have kids together, and there is no way that you're going to say this is not family, or like you don't know him despite what they have done to you. Okay, now it is important to ensure that we are promoting that family relationships and ensuring that they are very healthy, and showing our kids that actually families can be happy whether they are together or they are separate. Find activities that you can do together. Just show them that you are okay and that everything is okay, and that you are doing everything possible to be present and to love them and to provide, and just the basic needs that a kid would want. Sawa sawa. So that said, the other very important point is to focus on parenting priorities, values and needs. All right, so just focus on what is expected of you as a parent. Focus on what you ought to do, and when you understand that at this point it is just a matter of yourself and the kids, every other thing does not really matter. And it's also important actually to ensure that you're setting boundaries between you and your other person, especially when so that you avoid any sort of confusion between the two of you. Communication is very key. And so set boundaries, understand when there is actually absolutely no need discussing your personal issues and all that, but you can talk about every other thing include the kids. Okay, so there is no need to discuss any of the other personal matters, who they are dating, where they are working, where they are everything that is personal, leave it to remain personal. But everything that includes the kids, ensure that you are actually over communicating and over giving details, so that the other person also understands, because you guys are not spending enough time, or like you're not having full time with the kids, but you ought to seek to understand and to know what is happening in my kids' lives. Ni nini nafanyika, amefanya aje mtihani, amekula nini, what is his allergies, does he have any allergies, are there any health conditions that I need to be aware of, and all that. But it's important to ensure that you understand every detail of that baby every day. Okay, but discussing any other matters apart from that would be now crossing the boundaries. Just set the boundaries very clear and be clear that we ought to be talking about the baby and nothing else here. Okay, and it is not out of any sort of disrespect. I respect you, but it is out of respecting my privacy and my life. Now, Being patient is another key aspect to effective co-parenting. Being patient and understanding each other. You will not call to ask for something and that thing is not available and you start throwing tantrums. So I'm giving an example, like if you are the mother and you're calling the dad and asking for something, and if that thing is not available, and I think mostly it's about finances or about a few favors that you may need from that person. If that is not forthcoming, or if you're not getting that, do not throw tantrums. I mean, do not make it uncomfortable between the other person. If they do not have, understand that there is not that whatever it is that you need, and respect it and move forward. Because if they have, they are going to provide. If they do not have, just understand that there is haikuji na itapatikana. Kama ulikuwa unataka do, haiko, seek other places, but be patient and understand the other person. Now, another very important key to note is that if you were married, or like if you've given birth to a parent who is who is dealing with addiction, or someone who was violent to you, it's important for you to communicate that to the kids. I mean, it's actually advisable to be very open with them. All right, so just tell them that for these particular reasons, find a very wise way of doing it, right? So that you're not also looking like you're bad mouthing your other partner. So you can tell them that your father or your mother, say your father has been dealing with this particular problem, and for the safety of everyone, we decided that he should go to perhaps rehab, and eventually after he's done with that, he could come back. All right, so if he was a violent person, because in most cases violence, the kids can actually spot violence, so you just explain to them, like, you see, your dad and I could no longer be on the same roof peacefully. We could not stay peacefully, and so we decided to stay out, separate, so that you and every other person is happy. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't mean that your dad doesn't love you. He loves you, but for now, we thought it wise that he stays away from us, and we stay separately. But it's important to communicate those particular aspects of life. But some things that you don't have to communicate to them, like finances, other finances, and how you intend to do, who is going to be sorting what, who's going to be paying what. Those are details that the kids do not have to know. But if it came to like violence and addiction, and start being some of the reasons that the two of you are not able to stay together, just be open. Just tell them, I was not able to stay with your dad because of this and this and this. You understand? So basically, co-parenting is a very important aspect of our lives, and because, as I mentioned, it's important for us to ensure that there's continuity and that our kids are not feeling any sort of deficiency in terms of the parenting and the love that they were getting from the two parents. And so, despite what has happened and what transpired between the two of you, set everything aside and understand that now every other decision that I'm making, I am making it for the kids. I am making it to make the kids comfortable. I am making it so that the kids are happy and for their well-being, to avoid any sort of future traumas, because they are very possible. It is very possible to undergo trauma. It is very possible to have scenarios in which your development has been affected by some of the events and terrible events that have happened to your life. And so that is the importance of ensuring that there's continuity in co-parenting. Now, the question would be, what if now the father or the mother is dealing with addiction and they are at a very, very bad place? Or have you seen people who are just psychos, or how do you call it? Psychopaths. There are people who are just very, how do you call this name? Who change their moods pretty fast. All right, so and you find that you cannot predict how they are going to be handling the babies around, or someone who's dealing with addiction. So in that case, it's important for you to ensure that as much as you're doing co-parenting, there is someone who is monitoring how the co-parenting is going to be done. So I would actually advise, do not take your kids to spend a night or any with the other parent. And if it becomes an issue, it's important for you to go just sit down with a counselor, or even take it to a child's court, understand what works and how you are supposed to handle that particular scenario. But if you are okay, and if the other person is okay, if you take your kids under monitor and close supervision, so it's just okay for you to ensure that as much as you're taking them to the other parent, as much as there is co-parenting, there is also supervision. You are supervising what is being done, what the person is doing with those kids. All right. So it's basically it. It's basically it. But separation, the bottom line is that separation should not be the reason as to why you end up being a bad parent. Or so the are people who separate with their baby daddies, and they become very cruel to their kids. You become very violent to your kids. You start beating them left, right, and center. You start maltreating them. All right. So we are actually having very active cases of such kind of people, and it's important for us to understand that those kids are totally innocent. Hawajui what transpired between the two of you. They actually are not aware how they even came to this world. All right. So do not mistreat a kid because your other partner is not forthcoming, is not coming through for you, is not being the parent that you'd want him or her to be. So do not maltreat, do not mistreat your kids for such kind of reasons. Rather, that should give you an opportunity to actually love them even more. When things are not working with the other partner, it's important for you to just love those kids more. It is going to give you some satisfaction and some fulfillment. You're going to feel happy. You're going to easily forgive. Actually, you're going to, if you are undergoing any that hard period, it is going to be easy for you to forgive your other partner. But if you are very resentful, you are looking at your kids and you're like, where is this una babako, hautawahi msamehe na hakuna kitu mbaya kama kukaa na chuki ndani ya roho yako. It just affects who you are. It affects how you're relating with people. It affects how you are interacting with people and how you are working. Everything. I mean, I think if something is bothering you inside, it's going to portray it outside, and it's not going to be well. It's not going to sit well with your other people. So let's ensure that we are in the spirit of we at least try to work ways in which you can co-parent. And it is me telling you this from a point of a single parent. Remember when you're talking at first about single parenthood and how sometimes there is stigma on how single parent kids are, are not well brought up. There is actually that kind of a stigma, especially here in Kenya. You'd hear, huyu ana misbehave, ni mtoto wa single mother, huyu anafanya hivyo juu amelelewa tu na babake peke yake. Huyu, a lot of stigma about how single parenthood is done. But to avoid that, because it actually can affect, I mean, if you are the only parent who is bringing up the kid and you do not have the support of the other parent, and you do not have, if you are a mother, you do not have a father figure to your kids, it could affect actually the people that they end up becoming. But if you are co-parenting with the other parent, then it just becomes easy. The other parent is able to instill some discipline here and there. You are also there. You can monitor some scenarios and situations that need some correction. But if you're seated and just doing a lot of resentment and na unamchukia na uski ni kama unataka kumpelekea watoto. So how are you going to end up giving your kids the love of the both parents? If you are not getting that, just ongea na mtu akwe father figure mtu wako, so that it becomes easy and the kids grow up better. I'm not saying that if you just bring up your kid alone, that they will be, they're going to be delinquents. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes it is possible not to see some behaviors in our kids. Especially when you're working, because if you're a single parent, it means that you have to go out and work. You're working, or you're coming back late, you're leaving early. You might not get enough time with the kids to spot some of behaviors that need to be spotted early enough. But if you're co-parenting with a person, it becomes easy. Sometimes decision making is quite easy because you can always consult on something. They can also advise. They can be able to discipline and tell the kids when they're doing something wrong. So basically, that is it. Thank you so much for your time and for watching us up to this particular point in time. If you have not subscribed, I would politely request you to do so. It is going to be helpful. Thank you so much for your time and for watching. And I am wishing you a happy week ahead. Thank you.